10,000 people marched against war from the St. Paul City Hall going to the Excel Center, led by active duty soldiers and vets who had served in Iraq and Afghanistan and felt what they had done was wrong. It was an amazing, bright blue day, and the protest was very strong. And we were covering what they were doing, and then I went to the floor of the convention to cover delegates from the hottest state, from Alaska. And Nicole and Sharif went on with the protest to cover them. And then I got a call on my cell phone, come quickly, Sharif and Nicole have been arrested and they've been hurt. I raced down the streets of St. Paul to 7th and Jackson, to this big old parking lot where the riot police had fully contained the area, arresting many people inside. I raced up to the police line, and you know, I could see I'd come from the convention. I had all my credentials on. These are the credentials that let me interview presidents and vice presidents and delegates. And I said, you know, you can see that I'm fully credentialed. I need to speak to your commanding officer. My colleagues are inside. They've been arrested. They're credentialed like I am. We need to have them released. I mean, it wasn't seconds before they ripped me through that police line, twisted my arms behind my back, handcuffed me, threw me to the ground, and charged me with misdemeanor, interfering with a peace officer. If only there was a peace officer there. I'm desperately looking for Nicole and Sharif from my perch on the ground. I can't find Nicole, but I see Sharif across the parking lot. He's standing with his hands behind his back. His arm is bloody. His press credentials in full view. I demand to be brought to him. They finally bring me to him, and we're standing there loudly proclaiming, you can see we're journalists, you have to release us now. Whereupon the Secret Service came and ripped the credentials from around our neck. I was brought into the police wagon, and there was where I found Nicole, her face bleeding, her credentials around her neck, and she too was handcuffed. And she described quickly what happened. She said that they had been covering the protesters as they'd come around the corner. The riot police came quickly in formation at them. She was filming. They were shouting at her, move. She was trapped by the parked cars. She and Sharif were together. She held her press credentials up as she was filming, and they were shouting, on your face, on your face. They took her down, knee or boot in her back. Her face is in the ground, and they're pulling her legs, so they're bloodying her face. And the first thing they do as her camera tumbles down is they remove the battery from her camera if you had any question about what they wanted to stop happening. Sharif is a very cool guy, very calm. He's telling the rioting police, I mean the riot police, to calm down. He's holding a microphone, and they take him and they throw him up against a wall, and they kick him twice in the chest, and they pull his arms behind his back, they bloody his arms, and they handcuff him. They face felony riot charges. So I'm brought to the police garage where they've erected these protest cages for the protesters. Sharif and Nicole are brought to jail. Well, I think it was Twitter and email and YouTube that saved us, because when the video of our arrest was posted to YouTube, I mean within, I think it was minutes, maybe a half hour, the response was enormous. I don't know if it was hundreds or thousands of people writing in, tweeting in, emailing in the authorities of St. Paul, but soon after, a number of hours after we were released, I mean, Sharif was in jail with the AP photographer. Remember, more than 40 reporters were arrested. The AP photographer was not released when Sharif was. Sharif got out soon. So I'm taken over to the convention center because, you know, the networks want to interview me about what happened. And I'm on the NBC Skybox, and I've just described what happened. And an NBC reporter who's doing a stand-up next to me when the camera's off, and I finished describing what happened, he says, I don't get it, why wasn't I arrested? And I said, oh, were you out covering the protests? And he said, no. And I said, well, like Woody Allen says, 90% of life is just showing up. You know, I'm not being arrested in the skybox either. But, you know, it's our job not just to be there, though it is an amazing view from those skyboxes. It's our job to be on the convention floor getting the orchestrated word of the convention, to try to get into the corporate suites that line the convention. That's where, oh, the Republican Governors Association is being feted by the oil and gas company, and also the same with the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee, who is feting them in Denver, to try to get in there. That's our job. And it's also to go out into the streets. These are the uninvited guests. These are the majority of people, really. And to hear what they have to say. Because, see, democracy is a messy thing. And it's our job to capture it all. And it's not only a violation of the press, it's a violation of your right to know. because it's on getting this information upon which you make your decisions. And that is very serious. We shouldn't have to get a record to put things on the record. Now, I'm going to be signing books with Dennis Moynihan, and if you get two, you get a DVD of our Hour with Bill Moyers. And why do that? Well, our latest book, Breaking the Sound Barrier, it's published by an independent press. And I'll tell you, the New York Times has never reviewed any of the 4 books, but the first 3 made it into the New York Times bestseller list. They were forced to publish the title just because they had to, even if they wouldn't have wanted to mention it any other way. And the last one that we did before Standing Up to the Madness, before Breaking the Sound Barrier, knocked Thomas Friedman out of his perch on the bestseller list. So there are some great things. But I just want to end with this image in terms of how important the media is. I see the media as a huge kitchen table that stretches across the globe, that we all sit around and debate and discuss the most important issues of the day. War and peace, life and death. And anything less than that is a disservice to the servicemen and women of this country, because they can't have these debates on military bases. They rely on us in civilian society to have those critical discussions that lead to the decisions about whether they live or die, about whether they are sent to kill or be killed. Anything less than that is a disservice to a democratic society. Democracy Now!